Hi, I'm LadyJenevia, and today I'm talking about Netflix's Shadow and Bone, more specifically, the new teaser trailer. I know that I am fashionably late to the party, but I was very caught up in finishing my latest video essay, which is called The Women of Zack Snyder's Filmography, which is currently displayed on my profile, so make sure you go watch it if you haven't already. It was a huge passion project that took me several months to finish. If you are new here, I've previously made a couple of other videos about Shadow and Bone before this one. The first videos that I made were posted last year, back when I was reading the books specifically to prepare for the show's release. I was doing a bit of preliminary research, and I gave some thoughts about adapting that material. I also have an interview on my channel with one of the show's writers, Christina Strain, who has written episode 7 of season 1. And most recently, I did a video about the first batch of promo photos that were released. I don't know exactly how long ago, but anyway, let's get into the trailer. I'm not going to be doing a reaction because, to be quite honest, I hate making reaction videos. I mean, no disrespect to people who like making those types of videos or even watching those types of videos, but I would just really prefer to do something a bit more planned and a bit more analytical. So I have already watched the teaser trailer and I'm going to go through the material revealed in it. Most of what was in this teaser trailer is from the Shadow and Bone book, more specifically the first book in that trilogy. So I think I would rather talk about the few scraps of information that they previewed in there from the Six of Crows universe. For starters, we have a few frames from some sort of conflict. There are two groups charging one another, and based on the snowy location, I would say that this is probably some sort of Fjerdan conflict. The Fjerdans are a militant sort, and I'm an anti-imperialist, so it's no surprise I'm ripping off the band-aid by talking about this bit of the trailer first. I went through this frame by frame, trying to gauge if there were any magical ongoings in this particular fight, but it was just too little an amount of information for me to be able to tell if this is a conflict between Fjerdans and Grisha specifically. It might be. I remember looking on social media when the show was still in production, and I distinctly remember the author of the books talking about visiting the set, and she had said that the show at some point was going to go to Fjerda. Already the few bits of promo we've seen so far indicates that the show is more ambitious in its world building. We're not just going to be focusing on wherever Alina is in Ravka. That was how it was in the Shadow and Bone book trilogy. We're not predominantly locked into Ketterdam like in a lot of the Six of Crows duology either. Alina is half Shu in this adaptation, and we know they're going to explore that dynamic, so we've got Shuhan, Ravka, Ketterdam, and Fjerda. If we use Game of Thrones as a reference because it's one of the more recent fantasy properties to be adapted that permeated the zeitgeist, I really like that we can see in this trailer more snippets of how Shadow and Bone has a larger ensemble of characters spanning multiple locations. I don't know how close the show will want to keep this adaptation to the books, since we already know that they're taking some creative liberties by merging the Shadow and Bone trilogy with the Six of Crows duology, even though these two series are separated by many, many years in the book canon. I would like for the show to continue to take more creative liberties with the material, because if this show gets renewed for more seasons, I want to see Alina's ancestral land. I want to see the Shu, because even though I am thrilled to see a mixed Asian lead in a big fantasy series, I also want to see an entire city full of Asians. If we really end up going through this entire series and we only see one East Asian Grisha in a sea of white people, Netflix, we're going to have words.
The cheek, the nerve, the gall, the audacity, and the gumption.
Moving along to the very few glimpses we get of the crows, we've got Kaz, Inej, and Jesper. We saw in the earlier promo photos, and now we see in the trailer, that Kaz has his cane. However, they've been very careful about how they've been cutting this trailer together, because they don't really show him limping. I would assume that if he has the cane, he already has the limp, but you only see him take one step in the trailer. Just one, and it's a blink and you'll miss it sort of thing. Maybe they will put together a more cinematic reveal for the general audience who isn't familiar with the source material. This is pure speculation on my part, but that's what this video is for. I could see them doing something where in the first scene that they introduce the audience to Kaz, we could get to see him be menacing, threatening, confident. Maybe he'll even get physical with someone that crosses him. And he'll probably use his cane. But then they could cut to him leaving after that first introduction and he's limping. See, we don't normally get to see physically disabled characters in such a prominent role the way Kaz Brekker is in the Six of Crows duology, so I just think it would be a really cool way of playing on the audience's expectations who don't know anything about him yet because they haven't read the books. I'm more so interested in seeing how much or how little information they're going to share with the general audience about his backstory in this first season. And one of the reasons this intrigues me so much is because Kaz as a character doesn't really like to share a lot of his personal secrets with other people, even to those that he considers closest to him. So if you're going to maintain that characterization, you have to reveal that information in flashbacks, since the audience has no other way to get this information. You can't get that just from his thoughts alone like you would in a book. Or they could have him open up a bit more as the season progresses, which would allow for some character development and character growth. Maybe he could confide in Inej about a thing or two. It's really difficult to say because from what we've seen so far, I don't know if they're going to even have Van Eck appear in this season, since they don't even have all 6 Crows cast as far as we're aware of. So my guess for now is still that the Six of Crows material in this season will be some sort of prequel to what's in the Six of Crows book. If you are watching this video and have not read the books, don't worry about learning who Van Eck is. It's not relevant to you until it becomes relevant, and I don't want to confuse you by naming too many extra characters that might not even be appearing in this first season. We see Jesper playing with a coin and winking. Oh, he's so charming, isn't he? And he seemingly shoots this coin, so this could mean that this is an introduction scene that gives the double whammy of showing the audience that Jesper is a sharpshooter, and he's also someone with a gambling problem. The way this is edited together, if I had to guess, I think that Kaz is going to either rescue Jesper from a bad situation because he's one of the crows and you can't let one of your fellow crows get in even deeper with these gambling debts, or if this is early enough in their relationship, maybe this is how they first meet. Maybe Kaz just happens to be in the same place as Jesper and he witnesses Jesper's shooting skills and sees that Jesper would be someone useful to recruit into the Crows. It all depends on how early in their story the writers want to go, and also how long they have a preliminary plan to run the show for. Obviously, it's not up to them, it's up to Netflix, but they can hope anyway. You also get to see in this teaser trailer Inej doing what she does best, sneaking around undetected and also using her knives to protect herself when she's being shot at with a bow and arrow. We only get flashes of the crows in action, so for now my best guess would be that we are meeting the crows much earlier on in their story than what we have read in the books, and they will have some sort of formative heist that they need to do together in this season that will establish their bonds both professionally as a criminal group and personally as friends, or more than friends. See, I just know I'm going to end up being far too emotionally invested in shipping Kaz and Inej, and they're not even going to touch each other. I hate it here.
That's so upsetting.
Now on to what the bulk of the trailer was showing. Specific events from the first Shadow and Bone book. And a lot of this was actually from the very beginning of that book. As I've already said, the Six of Crows material seems to be where they are going to be taking more of those creative liberties. When it comes to the Shadow and Bone material, they seem to be very closely following the material of the book. We start things off with Alina joining Mal to travel through the Shadow Fold. One of the changes I hope they make in adapting this opening is the whole thing where Mal is just hooking up with any and every girl that he feels like. Why that was chosen to be his character introduction in the book is beyond me.
What was the reason? What was the reason?
It just seems like a strange choice if this is the ship that you want the audience to be getting invested in. That's all I'm saying. Their whole dynamic already seems to be handled better in this tiny sneak peek of the show than the entire Shadow and Bone book trilogy. Oop! Too much. Do I ship Alina with a Darkling? No. Did I ship her with Mal in the books? No. There was only one appealing love interest she had, but as far as we are aware, he is not appearing in this season, so let's not talk about him right now, no matter how tempting that might be. But what I will say, though, is that if they don't cast someone hot to play him, I will fight. For a different show airing on a different network or platform, I might have said that they're giving away too much of what will comprise a significant portion of presumably the first episode of the season. But since Netflix is a drop it all in one go type of network, it makes perfect sense that you would show more from the first episode to hook people in so that they can know a bit more of what the show's premise is, what the vibe is, what it all is going to look like. We're jumping into the action very quickly. This group gets attacked by the Volcra when they're crossing the Shadow Fold, and when Mal's life is in danger, that's what sets Alina's powers off. It's pretty common in genre material that your powers are going to be tangled up in your emotions, and she doesn't know that she already has those powers, but she suppressed them when she was a child. Sorry if you haven't read the books and you didn't want to know that particular detail, but we don't even know for sure just yet how closely the show will want to follow the books, particularly as we get further into not only this season, but hopefully more seasons to come. We don't know just yet if it's going to get renewed, but we can certainly hope. Another detail that was ridiculously fixated on in the books, annoyingly so, at least in my personal opinion as a reader, were the bags under Alina's eyes. I'm Alina Starkov, and I'm the YA main girl who thinks she's so plain because she has under-eye bags. Apparently there's magic in the Grishaverse, but there's no under-eye concealer. Okay, if you think I'm bringing that detail up to be petty, I'm not. I can get back to that. Another detail I want to mention is Alina's scarf disappearing from the first bits of her appearance in the trailer to the later shots. I just assumed that the wind was picking up. It gets windy in the Shadow Fold, especially when you have Grisha using their powers to propel the ship forward, and also the flapping wings of big bad Volcra on the hunt for man flesh.
What is it? What do you smell? Man flesh.
I figured I would bring up the scarf detail because I saw Art Lee tweeting about it. At least I think it was him. I don't know. I don't follow that many people who post queries about the Shadow and Bone promotional material, so I'm just going to assume it was him. Moving on. So we see these beams of light shooting out of Alina in the trailer because she is the Sun Summoner. Being a Sun Summoner is, to put it lightly, a big deal. The Darkling, that's old man Ben Barnes for you non-book readers, is searching for different items or magical entities to destroy the Shadow Fold, so we see that after Alina's powers reveal themselves very publicly, she is brought to his tent. He tests her in a manner that seems pretty similar to what's in the books and confirms that she has the power that he wants, so he orders his followers to gather Alina and pack her up into his carriage, which is obviously painted black because he called dibs on an entire color, like the drama queen he is. Calm down, Cheryl Blossom.
Now that's bullying. Did you see that?
Here is where we start to get some improvements or perhaps slight alterations that are noticeable from the book. Mal running after Alina, screaming her name, distraught over being helpless to stop the Grisha from taking her away against her will. I'm only slightly aware of the discourse, where a lot of book readers apparently didn't like Mal in the books. It seemed like they didn't find him to be a particularly appealing love interest, and for this scene in the books, they got the impression that he didn't do enough, or that he didn't do anything at all to try to help her. I didn't really have an issue with him the way that these book readers seem to have. My issue was a more universal complaint, since these books, the Shadow and Bone trilogy specifically, were all written from Alina's perspective, which made it extremely difficult for me to feel connected to a lot of these characters because you are so limited in your access to their thoughts, feelings, and motivations. And Alina barely gets to spend any time with Mal in a way that can properly hook you into being invested in their relationship, especially in the first book. The show, however, is free from those constraints. You get to know these characters a lot more quickly because you have actors to communicate information more quickly than you would receive information in a book, because you can read their expressions, their physicality, and even if it's just the way you have two characters looking at each other, if it's shot and edited well with the right music playing, you can start to get invested and start shipping different pairings very quickly. Hold on, I'm just having flashbacks to watching Daredevil season 2 for the first time, and thinking about how hopelessly invested I became in Frank Castle and Karen Page, and then these greedy executives decided to ruin my life by canceling The Punisher. It's been 84 years, and I'm still not over it.
And guess what I'm doing today? I am complaining.
Anyway, we can start to fill in some blanks using the Shadow and Bone teaser trailer. We see her getting cleaned up after she's arrived, and she has a split lip, which to me means that they're going to be keeping in the Fjerdan attack on the Darkling's carriage when she's on the way to the palace. There were a couple of seconds in this trailer that I thought might be from that specific attack. It looks like that's the Darkling's carriage behind the Grisha that are seemingly on the defense, but that's definitely just speculation on my part. It's too early to know for sure. Now, jumping back ahead to Alina at the Darkling's palace, I'm pretty sure this is our first real glimpse of Zhenya, which I think is the correct Eastern European pronunciation, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on Eastern Europe. She is what's known as a tailor, if I remember correctly. So she is basically a magical hair and makeup person slash dermatologist slash plastic surgeon. She can make you look different, and perhaps more exciting than just looking different, she can make you look more attractive. So she is there to clean up Alina and get her looking cute and fresh. She had me screaming in the books because of how much emphasis they put on Alina's damn under eye circles. Maybe that detail is too subtle to effectively transfer from the books into the show, which is honestly fine with me. But it was something that really irritated me, even though there was a reason for it in the books, but I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. I saw a fair few people on Twitter complaining that they didn't get to see new Matthias content.
Getting tired now, though.
How are you Matthias stans going to sit there and complain when I still have not seen a bespectacled Luke Pasqualino as David?
I'm glad you brung it up because I've been dying to talk about it for a fucking hot minute. First of all,
for those who haven't read the books, David is Zhenya's love interest, and he's adorably wholesome and precious, and he must be protected at all costs. That is not up for debate.
It does not change what I said. I said what I said.
Jumping ahead again, and we see Alina and the Darkling preparing to do their joint demonstration of their combined powers for the royal family of Ravka. Well, not the entire royal family. The best member is notably absent, but we're just all going to have to suffer through this season without him now, aren't we? If you are still watching and you haven't read the books, even though the Grisha are very powerful, they still have to sort of play ball with people who don't have magical abilities, like the royal family of the Kingdom of Ravka, which is where they live. It plays into this larger dynamic of political scheming and intrigue, which makes things a lot more interesting than if it was just the Grisha being all-powerful while non-magical people are helpless against them. This makes for a more interesting power dynamic between these different groups of people to play out in different ways throughout the show. By the way, this is kind of a spoiler, but in this household, we hate this King of Ravka. He is a predator, and he's an R word that rhymes with escapist, so he deserves to D-word. I said what I said. I'm censoring myself so that YouTube doesn't give me a strike or something for being too aggressive. Anyway, only a couple of other shots to go through from this trailer. There is an exchange between the Darkling and Alina where he touches her face. Listen, I get that they're trying to play up this whole love triangle dynamic, but any skincare enthusiast will tell you it's nasty to have people just touching your face like that, unless it's someone that has done a proper cleaning of their hands beforehand and preferably is going to wear gloves to handle your face for medical procedures only. It's a no from me. Anyway, the Darkling is the bad guy in so much more extensive ways than I feel comfortable saying in this video, that I've mostly designed to be accessible to people that have not read the books. So I'm not trying to completely spoil everything about the story and about what gets revealed about certain characters, but I'm just saying he has some nerve. I want to destroy the Shadow Fold. I'm sure you do.
When do it becomes...
Here's the thing about the Darkling. He is manipulative as hell. He wants all the power he can get, and he will use any tool to his advantage to get it. And if seduction is in his arsenal and he thinks that's the best way to get what he wants, yeah, he'll go down that route. I just have this feeling that every time he tries to get too close to Alina, I'm going to turn into that one Demi Lovato meme. You know the one I'm talking about?
I'm just here to fight.
The final bit of footage to pick at is of Alina and Mal, and I feel fairly confident in guessing that this is from after they are reunited and they escape together from the Darkling's palace and they go on the hunt for the stag together. I don't see what else this could be, really. It's not like it looks like a flashback from happier times. Overall, I think that this is a decent teaser trailer. It's introduced the show nicely without giving too much away, even to the people that have read the books. I like that a lot of the Shadow and Bone material that they chose seemed to be from, I would say, roughly the first 100 or so pages of the book, but that's not even getting out of the first half of the book, so there's still a lot of big reveals that I'm sure a lot of the book readers will be excited to watch unfold once the season drops. Also, if they do decide to deviate further from the source material once they progress further into the season, then it would make even more sense that they've mostly just focused on showing what's in the beginning of the book adapted into this television series. Considering how much popularity the Six of Crows duology has, comparatively speaking, to the Shadow and Bone trilogy, it definitely makes sense to keep more of that material hidden. I don't know if they're going to end up doing another trailer. It's certainly possible, since this one had been posted with the name teaser trailer instead of just trailer or trailer 1. I know they also released another batch of promo photos recently, ones that showed Zoya, the king, Mal training Alina to fight. I really don't know if any of those photos are worth trying to discuss in detail, especially since this video is already getting quite long. I think a lot of those photos are self-explanatory, particularly to the people that have already read the books. But if you do want me to do any other Shadow and Bone videos before the show premieres, let me know. If they end up releasing another trailer, I could see myself coming back to talk about that once again. I know that I'm interested in doing videos about the show after it premieres, but I first need to see exactly what they've done with the material so then I can gauge what type of videos I would like to make about that material. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow my social media accounts. Everything is in the description box, along with some of my other videos that you are more than welcome to check out if you are new here. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.